I just finished this book. It took me 2 days to read, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So, before I read this book, I actually watched 13 Reasons Why when it first came out on Netflix. And, after that, I watched every single season, which there's 4 seasons of 13 Reasons Why. Tell me why there's 4 seasons of 13 Reasons Why. I think we all can agree after the second season, we were like, why is this still continuing? Anyhow, while I was reading this, I decided to rewatch the first season and literally chapter by chapter read this book and watch the show at the same time. And I'd say the show is amazing. The first season is amazing. I love it still, even after so many years of not watching it. Anyways, there's. Sorry, guys, my stomach growled. There's very few differences between the book and the show. I think they kind of slightly rearranged things around just so the storyline flowed more seemingly. And they kind of changed certain events that happened to make it more interesting, or people's storylines to make them more interesting. And I'll kind of mention that in a second. So Courtney Crimson, she's the first person where I realized her story was drastically changed. I think she's the only one that has a very different storyline. But she is a lesbian in the TV show, as well as her dads are gay. In the book, she's not a lesbian. She's actually a very popular girl, and her parents are straight. Hannah and her never have a single connection, as in like kissing or anything like that, like what happens in the TV show. Instead, Courtney more just uses Hannah and gets her, hey, can you drive me here? Hey, let's hang out, but then never really gives her the time or attention. Jessica Davis, Alex, and Hannah's relationship was exactly how it's described in the book, and as well as Bryce graping Jessica Davis, that does happen in the book as well. Hannah and Clay, that situation is more or less the same. They're closer friends. I feel like the book could have done a better job of like describing the friendships and how their interactions were, but also it's only from Clay's perspective. The book is 100% from Clay's perspective, and I like how the TV show shows everyone's perspectives and how they're reacting to the tapes. But in this book, Clay is not the last one to receive the tapes, and he actually has to pass them on to other people. Another event that was thoroughly changed, so Bryce and Hannah, in the book, Bryce does essay Hannah, but in the TV show, he literally grapes her, like fully, thoroughly. That's a weird way of saying it, but either way, both messed up situations. Neither should have happened, but it's just kind of different situations that took place. Oh, another big character that's in the book is Jenny, but in the TV show, they named her Sherry, which I don't feel like the name change is that big of a deal. I kind of correlated it really fast. I don't know if people would connect it if they weren't watching the show and reading the book at the same time, because I was just like, Jenny was mentioned so quickly. Jeff, who is a part of Sherry's storyline, never exists in the book. Only the old man does. Justin Foley is also a huge character in the book as well as in the series. And I feel like Justin and Bryce were just as big, but like not as Bryce was just not as mentioned. And then Zach Dempsey, he also is a huge character in the book, but his storyline is completely different than with Hannah, if that makes sense. I feel like in the second season, because I remembered this part of like Hannah and Zach dating, and that's never mentioned in the book, but I think it doesn't even happen until the second season. And that's like after, I think, everything happens with him stealing her little notes and stuff. But the whole correlation throughout the TV show, I realize, is that Hannah gets sexually assaulted over and over and over and over again. Like, Courtney sexually assaults her. Tyler harasses her sexually by taking photos of her. Alex sexually harasses her by making a hot or not list. Bryce sexually assaults her. Justin Foley sexually harasses her. Like, this just happens repeatedly throughout the whole entire show. And even Marcus is a huge part of the TV show and book as well, and he sexually assaults her too. And it's just like, what is happening at this school? Like, sexual assault does happen very frequently, and 1 in 4 women experience this. I don't know what the statistics is for men, but I know it is also pretty high. But that is insane for that to happen so many times to one person within a year. Like, absolutely crazy. And I'm sure it has happened. When you go through a traumatic situation, your likelihood of going through that same traumatic situation happening again is, it like elevates your chances of that happening, because you kind of ignore the warning signs or don't really realize. And it's not also victim blaming at all. It's never your fault for getting in those situations. I've been in that type of situation myself, so it's just, it makes your chances of that happening again higher, and it's just very traumatic. So for Hannah to go through that so many different times, I understand why she was depressed. I understand also just like the bullying, like what is happening. So I definitely highly recommend this book because I've read through it so quickly.